and Sit Show number 39. Believe it or not, it's our third year. Can you believe that? I'm the host, DW from conferenceussa.com. Don't forget to go to conferenceussa.com daily. We have new stuff, new videos every day, articles, tournament reports, computer rankings, you name it. We got the tournament preview for this weekend at the Chattahoochee up. I'm joined today by Joel Sanchez, shortstop from Sports Reach, swings the DeMarini. Josh Kirsten, center fielder for Nitro Circus, swings Suncoast. And Stephen Robbs, manager of I-57 Roofing Beachy Construction out of Illinois. Guys, we're going to jump right into it with a tournament rundown. So if Bernie can share my screen, you should see the Hit and Sit Show logo. And then, can you believe it? We're 8 tournaments out of the 19 already this year. So we're approaching the halfway point of the season. This weekend's the Chattahoochee Major in Columbus, Georgia. I think there's 20 or 17 conference teams. Quick rundown of the season so far. You can see the top 4 from each team, well represented here by our panelists. Nitro Circus, of course, winning Vegas. Sports Reach, Joel, you've gotten what 3 4th-place finishes, I think. And I-57 Roofing, they just keep finishing as an A team. They keep finishing on Sunday. Week after week, it feels like, and last week, 2 weeks ago, RoofX, of course, beat Resmondo in Chicago. I-57 was 3rd. And then in Palm Springs, a smaller conference event last weekend, Cheap Suits earned the big points, knocking off NFM Lending in the IF game with the 3rd conference team, Cutthroat Sports, 3rd. And Ha Premier, non-conference B team out of California, finished 4th. Point standings real quick. RoofX, because they have played those 6 tournaments, they're first in the points. Nitro's played all 7 of the 8 tournaments. They're in 2nd. Resmondo still has the highest average points per tournament, so they're in 3rd. And Cheap Suits, they've played 7 as well, winning Palm Springs, so they're in 4th, just ahead of I-57 Roofing and Sports Reach. So we're well represented here, 3 teams in the top 6 on our panel. Computer rankings real quick. Resmondo had that huge. They were averaging 6 points per game in the computer rankings early on. They've leveled off now to 4.38, which is still a pretty good score. RoofX has cut into that lead. And Straight Play, who won that Phoenix tournament, is in 3rd. You can see Sports Reach 7th, I-57 9th in the computer rankings. Computer rankings kind of show who's done what on the entire season, for the entire season. Then we should, let me see if I have the points. Did I pass the points? I already passed the points. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to run down, I already ran down the recent tournaments. We're going to have each panelist talk about their division that they're in and what they think about the teams in their division. And as you can see on my screen, I have it broken out, the computer rankings by division. So Mooch couldn't join us today. His son got sick. He had to pick him up from daycare at the last minute. So Josh, Nitro Circus, 22-13 on the season. You guys won the Vegas tournament. You've fallen off a little bit since. You yourself, 665 on base while running center field, 28 doubles among the league leaders. What is your thoughts on the season so far with Nitro Circus, and taking a look at the 6 AA teams? What do you think the outlook is for the AA division?
Yeah, so I'll start reverse there with that last question. The AA is as predicted. I think we talked about this in the first show that I was on before Vegas. The AA is just tough. I mean, it's very well rounded. I'm sure Joel will agree. Like, we've had some great battles with them this year. We've played them 4 times already. We finally found out that if we play them in the rain, we got them. So that's good. But no, Straight Play's been playing really well. JBL had a great Memphis, and they're always there in the hunt. And so In West Point, Classic and West Point, like West Point's the team you just cannot sleep on. We've played them a couple times this year too, and Alicia does a really good job having a gritty team. So the double A world is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for it for sure. But in terms of our season, I think if you talk to anybody on our team, we would tell you that we've underperformed to our expectation, I should say. And so we're certainly not pleased with where we are, but we also understand that there's a little bit of time to turn it around. Only a few tournaments, but pointing back to 2022 with MPT, we weren't exactly lighting the world on fire heading into the Smoky. And so when we got there and we did all right in the Smoky, and then we turned it around in Cincinnati and Evansville going into the World. So we just got to find a way to peak at the end of the season, and hopefully we can figure that out.
Yeah, looking at some of the numbers, Nitro Circus 1-5 against major. I think preseason we all thought Nitro Circus would take it to the major teams, but just 1-5 so far. 5-4 in division and double A, and 11-4 against A. Kind of average numbers, I guess, for what we expected, but you're right. Fourth in the computer rankings so far. Joel, we'll move on to you. Of course, you're with Sports Reach in the double A division, 16-10 overall, 3 fourth-place finishes, which we consider Sunday finishes, which is impressive. You're batting .660 while playing shortstop. Joel, what do you think about the double A division? Who looks good to you, and who do you think's the front runner to win double A?
Bro, the double A is just like I'm so used to a clear cut who's gonna win, who's not gonna win, and the underdog that you kind of cheer for, like the dark horse type of deal. You can't sleep on anybody. You got to play everybody super hard. How many times does West Point have to smack somebody so that everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, West Point's killing it? They do that every year. Every year they're going to come after you. Alicia does a great job. Very well said there, Kirsten. Like, yo, and then you guys and JBL, like, that's automatic. Like, that, I feel like the top four-ish would be one of those teams in the double A where if you're in this part of the bracket and you know where you're going and you face one of us, you're like, oh, you're already preparing 2 games ahead. Like, that's how hard the double A, and we're not even considering half the A, which is giving everybody problems. Prime time always gives everybody problems. And then, bro, Beachies. How many people? Beachies? Is that like the other? Like, yeah, they're going to beat you too. Yeah, that's it. That's what's going to happen. And like, bro, it's double A's crazy hard, and like, yeah, all the major teams, they come after you hard because they're not trying to lose to anybody under a major team. Good. I like it. I like that.
Juneau is actually 1-4 versus the double A division, but I agree the other 3 major teams will take it to you. Sports Reach, looking at the numbers, 1-4 against major, so you have broken through and beaten a major team. You're 5-3 against double A, which is about as good as any double A team has played against in division. And then you're 6-3 against A, with every one of the double A teams losing at least 3 games to A teams already this year, except for Straight Play, who's lost twice. So that looks pretty even. I'm hearing as we go to Stephen Robb. Stephen, you're the manager of I-57 Roofing, Beachy Construction, 18-12 on the season. I forgot to look up how many top 4 finishes. Maybe you can tell me that. But real quick, there's a rumor West Point has appealed to play A. So my question to you is, give me a rundown of the A division and what you think West Point dropping into the A division would mean.
Yeah, so I guess to start with the West Point question, like, honestly, we played them pretty well earlier in the year, played them well last year as well. Like, to me, like, I think at the end of the day, between double A and A, if you're a high-level A team that's competing, I know our team, we don't have any problems with them dropping from double A to A, whatever that appeal is for or whatnot. To me, based on record, I could understand, why they put in that appeal. But on any given weekend, they could give teams fits, whether it's in the double A or A anyway. So in my in my honest opinion, it doesn't really affect us so much from a psychological standpoint at all. As far as the A is concerned, man, I'll tell you right now, like the talent, people keep talking about the AA talent. It's the same across the A. I think it really comes down to the chemistry of teams at the end of the day. All these teams picked up players that were from the major list, watch list. And really, if your guys are getting along in the dugout, you don't have the clicks, you're coming every weekend, doing the simple things that makes your team very successful, I think it's going a long way. And for us, I think that's what's kind of taken us over the top, along with making routine plays, not committing to errors. We just have to get over that hump against the major teams. We were close with Sonny's at the duel, but Resi took it to us pretty hard in Chicago. RoofX took it to us pretty hard in Chicago, but in Texas we compete with RoofX. But really, if we could break through with those major teams, we'd feel a lot better. And we're coming out of that being upset. You know, we're not coming out of it saying, oh, we're an A team. Like we should be able to give games there, in our opinion. So at the end of the day, we still got half the season to play. LSR, we want another shot against them. We've only been able to play them once, so we'll see them again at some point. And really, I think that, you know, most people are kind of putting us at the top of the class, but I'm not sleeping on anybody that's in the A. There's talent across the board.
Yeah, I feel like the A division, the top 8 teams are sort of mini AA teams, right? They have a lot of AA experience on the team. Not quite at that level, but some of them are playing on an individual weekend. Any of the top 8 A teams can play like a AA team. I-57, 0-5 against major, and you could see it in Chicago. There was almost nothing you could do to stop Rismondo and RoofX in those games. So it's not like you just went out and lost. They played terrible. Like there's nothing you could do with their offense. You're 5-3 against AA, 7-4 against A, and it's always good to be undefeated against B and C teams like you guys are, 6-0. So LSR is still the number 1 team in the computer rankings in the A division. You know, they're still living off those first 3 weeks, Vegas and Hall of Fame Classic. They haven't done much since. Prime time's always hanging around. Cheap Suits jumped up a little bit, winning California. Dirty Vegas, you know, has some talent. Van Wert Fricker's moved up from B. They've done a nice job. And then maybe Nally's and Seminoles, right? They're probably disappointed in their seasons right now. But it's not like they're not capable of playing better and making the major World Series. So we're going to go on to segment 3 already, game balls. I'm interested in everybody's take. We use the Pro-Am ball on 300-foot fields. We use the hardcore lately on the stadiums, and then we use the stadium ZN down at the Hall of Fame Classic in Florida. So my question, we'll start with Josh. How do the different balls play? Do you think they're the right balls for the field? And as an outfielder, how do you adjust to the game ball that's used?
Yeah, I don't think we've played on a field or a tournament yet where the ball hasn't been appropriate. I mean, 300-foot fences, we use the Pro-Am, like you said, on the bigger fields. In Memphis, we didn't play in field 2 at all. I heard it played really, really deep. And so maybe the Pro-Am wasn't enough for that particular field. It was definitely enough for the stadium, though. And Joel, the field that we played y'all on, that ball was perfectly fine too. The hardcore was. So I think for that mid-range baseball field, the hardcore is definitely the ball to go with. We've used it in Arizona too. Plenty of ball there as well. But Arizona's got that thin air and everything travels. So, I think the ball has been great, has been fine. I don't necessarily, in terms of like anticipation and getting prepared for what ball I don't really think about it too much. Like it just, bigger fields, you got a little bit more room to run in the outfields, which I actually prefer. 300-foot fences, ball gets on you quick. And so there's just only so much you can do. If you don't get if you get a first couple good steps, you might have a chance at something in the gap. Other than that, you're just trying to chase it down. So, but I've been pleased with it. I mean, I haven't had any issues with, performance of the ball. Performance of the ball has been really well. So good job across the board there.
Yeah. How would you say the knuckling between the 3 balls? Is there any difference?
Not as bad this year, but give it time. The hardcore ball tends to knuckle quite a bit. And so does the stadium. The stadium, I would say, catches more seams and takes off and darts in different directions when the wind hits it. And so being down in Vieiro is mainly the main time that we use that. And it being windy down there, it'll catch seams and just take off in a direction unexpectedly. So that's a little tricky. The hardcore ball doesn't do that as much, but it'll certainly knuckle when you square it up. But I mean, I think at this point, it just is what it is. Like you just got to be ready for it. And I don't know that I would, change it up or tell Dudley to change anything. I think right now they've been consistent with the 3 balls that they're producing and we're using. So.
Yeah, so for the viewers at home that watched the condensed games and followed the Memphis tournament, the stadium, which is a beautiful stadium, it's all turf with the trees. It just makes for great video, great games. But the outfield fence was only 310 or 315 down the lines, 335 to the gaps, 380 to center, whereas the other fields had 350, 355 to the gaps, which that 25 feet makes a big difference. But moving on, Joel, as an infielder, a shortstop, do you see a difference in the balls? What adjustments do you make based on the ball?
I don't know anything about golf, but I would assume it would be kind of the same as opposed to in Memphis. We started our day, nice dew, wet, kind of moisture in the air in the morning, and then it got raining fire hot, and then it started to cool off, kind of windy with that turf. So like you got so many factors. I'm not sure what's the ball and what's going on here.
Yeah.
So it'll be, and then in Chicago, me being from somewhere where it never skipped summer, like it was just summer forever, and I get to here, and in June it's cold and it's wet and it rained hard the whole time. Like it was like, oh, we're still playing? All right, cool. You got 5-minute break? No, it's pouring. Like I've never played in the shower like that before. Like that was crazy. Like it was like, oh, there you go. BP in the sauna, or like the straight up, those big. So like the ball held up because like I didn't feel any knuckles. I didn't feel any seams. I didn't get, and the Chicago turf real thick. So like usually if it's thick, it'll like slide a little harder. No, it gave enough give where like the infielders could play their game, and they did a good job. But I'm a little old school in the sense of where like I'm black and white. I say just move the bases 2 to 3 feet back, and stadiums for everything. Because like everyone's hitting it at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and by the time if I catch, all I gotta do is catch it. You're not even out of the box yet. That's it. I feel like that's pretty even. But like,
Joel, do you see yourself ever, like as you get older and maybe you can't play shortstop, do you see yourself moving to pitcher?
Bro, I don't know. I can't tell you how many people tell me that, but like I'm still scared of throwing BP behind 2 nets, So it's
you're talking about stadiums at all fields.
But at shortstop is completely different. That's so strange. That is so strange. Like I find that fascinating. Like I'm right behind Bobo and Blue while they're pitching, but I'm like, no, I'm not pitching. I'm not gonna pitch. It's just a very strange mental thing. But the when it comes down to it, like Pinkham makes it look. Oh, he makes it look the best. Like he gets beat up and all this, they're throwing everything everywhere. It's just all those flickety floppity. I love that. I love the idea when I watch him pitch. I like that. I would like to think I could take a beating up there, and then like all of my antics, and then Mooch. Oh my God. I don't know how many times you got to see that Karate Kid spin around that when he does that dumb thing. Like, oh my gosh, I wish he was here. He'd be gloating the whole time on his little vape. I freaking love that guy.
Hey, Joel, I'm working on a Mooch video with all of his moves, his strikeouts, that drop ball he threw in the Hall of Fame, the perfect game.
And then the perfect game to cap it all off.
You gotta add in the noises he does too. That's pretty entertaining.
And he's 1,000 years old. He looks like that detention desk that everyone wrote on in high school. Like he's
We
love
have
that
a
guy.
picture. We have a picture of Mooch today. If Bernie can share the screen. This is Mooch after the tournament last weekend where
My
they
goodness.
won in Chicago. But
Yo,
all right, moving on to Steven. As a manager, so Joel's basically saying he doesn't know if the conditions or the ball is making a difference because the ball's changing based on the conditions each weekend. But as a manager, do you even care what the ball is? Does your team just adjust to it, or do you even talk about it or anything like that?
We do talk about it. I think from a defensive standpoint, just from watching, I think it's much easier. Let's talk about like a hardcore pro-am compared to a stadium. I think defensively, it's much easier to field a stadium than it is a hardcore pro-am, especially when the balls are being pulled. They tend to knuckle a lot more. So for us, like I almost feel a little bit more confident using a stadium ball. As far as the power is concerned, there's times that I think the hardcore pro-am is better. There's times I think the stadium is better. We'll use Memphis as an example because we were on one field, was about the same size. The conditions made a huge difference because by the time we played Sports Reach, it seemed like the ball was like hitting a 52-300. It was absolutely awful. I mean, both teams are playing with the same ball. So to me, like you're not going to change anything as far as conditions are concerned. It's just the way that it is. And in Chicago, I was very impressed with how well the Pro-Am held up through the rain and everything. Like they were reusing the same balls, it seemed like. There was no issues hitting home runs. The exit velocity was still pretty good. So I really think the hardest part that UTRIP has in deciding what ball to go with is really on the bigger fields. And I do think that from a condition standpoint, the stadium may work better at times, but at the end of the day, everybody's on the same playing field. You have to adjust. That's the way that it goes. I wouldn't really change much, to be honest with you. Just more of just learning how conditions work with a certain ball is the only thing that could probably be looked at.
Yeah, we've had very few low-scoring games all year, and we played on all size fields. Actually, mostly baseball fields, probably the majority of the games, over 50% so far. We're headed to dirt for really, Palm Springs was dirt, but there's only 3 conference teams there. So this weekend will be the first test. Real quick, Joel, the difference, do you make an adjustment on the dirt, or are you looking forward to it, or are you just used to turf at this point?
Columbus's dirt isn't your typical dirt. Like you can play in the grass because it's so thin than the ball bounces. It doesn't really smooth out the ball and the grounders. Like it takes off. Yeah. Like that's why you're gonna catch everybody kind of in the grass. It kind of feels like the infield's smaller there. Like I might sound crazy, but like I play in the grass there and nowhere else. So like 2 + 2. So but you do make an adjustment. You know, you got to make an adjustment. You got to see what shoes you're going to wear. You got to see what's going on. You got to work on your hitting it down because it's 300 everywhere. So everyone's going to try and hit. All the outfielders trying to hit it down. All the outfielders going to catch all of the knuckles the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, so like I have giggled at the idea because I've heard some stories before, but to watch it, actually see it with my eyes, the ball get hit to center field and it looked like it's going to die. And then it picks up and it goes right to the fence. I'm like, yo, physics 101. Need that class.
One knock against the hardcore is that if it's hit really hard, it goes out of shape like an egg shape, and then as it crosses this shortstop or the infield, it pops back into shape, and then it starts knuckling. Haven't seen as much of that this year, but we did a little bit of there in Phoenix. I think
in the water balloon. That's wild.
Yeah. DW, I'll say one thing about Memphis. I wouldn't mind the conference taking into consideration for future years. So with it being 80-foot bases, because that's all they could do is 90, 80, or 70. It should definitely not be 70 on baseball fields. Yeah. I just think about taking a tournament like that. If it's going to be 80-foot bases, make it unlimited home runs. The only other time we do 80-foot bases is a Smoky, and we do unlimited home runs there. If we're on a baseball field using a hardcore ball, 80-foot bases, I think unlimited home runs on that tournament would have been pretty fun.
You're going to have to hustle for your hits. You're going to have to hustle. It's going to make the game better, I think.
Doubles weren't free in Memphis. You're right. They were at 80 foot because I guess they couldn't put them at 75. They didn't have the hardware in the ground to do that.
And
right,
going back to Columbus, that's mostly clay. I think it's clay. And Joel and I have played there hundreds of times with military ball and all that stuff too. Like playing infield on it, it's vastly different than most dirt fields. It's actually one of my favorite complexes to play at. But typically your infielders are going to play deeper on it because of how fast it moves. And really the home runs are going to be gone in a heartbeat. It doesn't matter what the conditions are. I've never played in a tournament there where you don't lose them quickly. So something to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah, home run management this weekend will be huge. We'll talk about Chattanooga here at the end. We're going to move on to I'm going to call it like a lightning round. So I just want shorter answers, but I'm going to ask specific questions. These are questions that the panelists really haven't heard. I just kind of wrote them up before the show. We'll start with Joel. We'll start with, quick answers, Joel. We'll start with Josh. Would you ever see Nitro Circus or Straight Play, say next year, moving up to the major division?
Nitro Circus, no. Straight Play, possibly.
Yeah. Any specific reason why the two?
I've had a conversation with the Straight Play sponsor before. His plan is to move up through the ranks. I think he's doing a great job and doing it the right way. Okay. I just don't think that that the leadership of the Nitro Circus has any intention of playing major.
Yeah, they want to stay AA. Second question, what teams, if you can ever think, I haven't been able to think of this, that had a player that was a starter on the team that was also the manager, has ever won Worlds?
You're directing that at Chris.
Because you do have that situation where Chris Bryant right. is a player and a manager.
Did Brett Helmer ever win Worlds playing and coaching? Or you said starter?
I think he considered other people the manager, but you're right. He kind of made the primary decisions as a player, and they did win with laser vision. Yeah, so that's definitely one. I know Alba Coco had a couple teams that sort of came close, but I can't think. Anyone think of a manager that won as a starter a world tournament?
I mean, so Nightmare never won anything, right?
No.
Yeah, so that's something to think about when you put together a team. You put all that money into it. Historically, it's never really been done, I don't think. I wish Mooch was on because he probably would think of a team I'm forgetting.
Mooch would know for sure.
Yeah. So, Joel, we'll move on real quick. I saw a reel with you in it, and you had a bat in your hand, so I clicked it on Facebook, and you were swinging lefty. You had a pretty good swing. Yeah. Could you switch hit in the conference if you had to?
Yo, go ahead. What was the question?
Well, you're muted.
That's not me hitting lefty. That's me. That's me.
Oh, no, you're good.
You're good. You're good.
You're good.
No, it's not me hitting lefty. That's me using the wrong angle on my phone.
Oh, like a flip on the phone? Oh, okay.
Screen. I just think it's funny that it makes me look like a good lefty.
I was like, damn, this guy could hit lefty in the conference with that swing, but you were hitting righty. So
I think I would have made it further in my baseball career if I was lefty, but I'm just saying, like, yo, when I look lefty, I'm like, yo, it's pretty dope. I kind of like it. Makes me look original.
Yeah. You know? Well, next question. There's a rumor Jordan Robinson might be looking for a team, or Nitro maybe trying to get rid of him. Is Sports Reach a good landing spot?
Yo, personally speaking, because your boy doesn't try to coach nothing. Personally speaking, me, Ragabaldo, Joey Kempfer, and Jordan, bro, we went through Elvin together for years. Like, if we all got our asses tatted together and everyone knew what we went through together, everybody would agree and probably join in. Like, yo, personally speaking, we would always welcome him. Like, to play, the guy's great, is he not? Like, yo, he has, what is he, 6'4", he can hit it far, he can hit it down, he can dive, he can move, he can do all these things. Game time is different, you know, I guess, for everybody, but, like, yo, he would, personally speaking, he's playing well here, too.
I'm not going to lie, Josh. Like, I feel like Nitro didn't give him a good chance. What do you think?
If that's true, listen, I stay out of that stuff. Honestly, swear to God, I don't know anything about anything until things until things happen. I know KO recently departed the team and went over to LSR, which hate to lose him. He's one of my dudes. He's a great guy. Had the opportunity to win a major World Series with him. In my opinion, we lost our rabbit foot. That dude doesn't know anything but winning rings. And sorry, Steve, but you guys aren't going to win the A because LSR just got the rabbit foot. So the dude doesn't know anything but to win worlds. So no, I wish the best of luck to him. And I have no idea about what's going on with Jordan. I think Jordan's a great guy. He's got worlds of talent and a huge ceiling. So
yeah, I agree. What Josh is talking about for the people at home, Kyle Overstreet was released from Nitro, went over to LSR.
1,000% winning in the Major World Series. He is 1,000. He's adding 1,000.
Kyle Overstreet enters the conference on a major team, MPT, wins the World Series, goes to Rismondo, wins the World Series.
What?
So good luck to Kyle. Joel, one more question.
Won a AA ASA last year too, by the way.
Oh, nice. Joel, one more question. I was doing the condensed game between Sports Reach and RoofX, and I'm not saying you had bad swings, but you did go 0-2. Why is Mooch so hard to hit? He went 0-2 that game.
Mooch scratches the ceiling enough where he can convince you that it's going to land for a strike. So if he gets in your head, and it's not necessarily Mooch that I'm worried about. I'm more worried about the tidal wave of hits that I'm going to have spraying everywhere. So by the time I get to Mooch taking 30 seconds off the clock to go pitch, I'm like, I got to be more patient up here. I forgot how many years this old man takes to pitch. So I'm here so by the time you get up there, he's looking at you, and the last pitch I hit off of him in the last tournament, he takes off his glove and shovel passes it with his left hand for a strike. Luckily, I hit a grand slam, but that's not the point. He freaking throws anything for a strike. And so I think he does a good job of just knowing how to throw you off balance. Yep. So if he sees a chink in the armor, like if you go up there, poised, stone face, real Resmondo Colt, like I don't make no emotional, nothing. Like I'm very surprised. He must have found something this weekend on them because those dudes were unconscious. But everybody else, when he finds something there, and then he'll put everybody exactly where they need to be because all of those cats are diving for the same ball. So he's gonna let you hit it. However, he has too many tricks up his sleeve. He has so many things you have no idea. You just got to go up there and whack it, really.
So Mooch's behind the back pitch has been really good this year. Get this. If you're out there, I'm going to give away his secret. Games on the line, bases loaded, Mooch on the mound in Chicago 4 or 5 years ago. I think he's playing for Pure Sports. The other team has a home run left. He goes fake, takes off the glove, shows it to the batter, lays it on the ground. So he's going to pitch with no glove. So he's saying, hit it at me, right? So you don't hit a game-winning home run. Dude hit a game-running home run, but that was one of the great pitching moves of all time, just to take off your glove, say, come at me. And then the guy didn't fall for it. But we'll move on to Steve. You've had success since you stepped on the field, right? With Beachy last year, I-57, you've made Sundays, you've upset major teams. What's the biggest surprise about the conference that you've seen since you've joined?
That's a great question. I think from my end, honestly, preparation, folks being prepared, and really the athleticism across the board. It's a night and day difference from, let's say, C-ball and below. You got people that are working out, 4 or 5 days a week at least, just to be able to stay afloat with the other athletes that are on the field, along with preparing yourself with hitting several days a week. And really the pitching side of the house too. I feel like guys are setting up their defenses much better from game to game, and the leadership that comes from the mound. I think if you have that, that goes a long way too. But preparation, in my opinion, like being prepared to compete with the best and not allowing you to really, I guess you could say, just fall into a trap of trying to be a me guy either. I think a lot of these teams, you see that from time to time, and I don't know. I'm just very proud of the guys because they really stepped up in big ways. They didn't really have a lot of people that were looking at them. They'd only had 1 or 2 years in conference, but you could see the ceilings of all the players. So from our end, it's getting them to that ceiling while staying confident, and that's a big key.
Yeah, you guys have had phenomenal success. Follow-up question, and this isn't for you specifically, but you can start. We've had 2 situations in the last 2 tournaments, Chicago and Memphis, where the third base coach touched the runner. One was Sonny Pilcher, was standing so close to third base, coaching third base, that when the runner slid and kind of popped up, he ran into Sonny. And the other was RoofX. I don't think the umpires saw it, where I think it was Mike Yoder coaching third. Lindensky, instead of sliding, ran, and then his momentum took him into Mike. Anybody know the rule? Do you know the rule, Steve? Or should that be an out? Or what is that?
Technically, I believe it's a dead ball out, but I would have to go look.
If the umpire sees it. Anybody else know?
Yes,
If the runner is coming to third and he makes contact with the coach?
Yeah.
So,
the
like,
coach,
not like a high five or...
Right.
Well, you can't even make a high five until time is called or the play is over as well, because that's a dead ball out too. So it's kind of the same concept in my eyes. Yeah. I would have to go look that up.
Yeah, I'll have to ask the UIC this weekend, because it's funny. It happened twice. I was doing condensed games, and I'm like, yeah, Lindensky hit Mike Yoder, and I don't know if it was Kyle Pearson or somebody slid and popped up and basically knocked Sonny down at third base, Sonny Pilcher.
Now, as an opposing coach, that's not something I really would give a fuss about, just to be honest, because to me, you're not really, it's only hurting themselves if they run into somebody on their own team, in my eyes. Like, it's not really affecting the play. If it's something that really affects the play, it would make a difference, but
yeah, maybe it should only be an out if they assist, like they pick the guy up, they push him.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it.
All right, we're going to finish up show 39 here with the Chattahoochee Major. If Bernie can share my screen. Juneau Athletics, Resmano, RoofX, Sunnies, all the major teams there. 5 of the 6 AAs. A whole slew of good A teams, and then Pure Pressure. So all 17 teams are from the conference. Good games from the start. What's that, Joel?
I'm a little confused. Like, we played Sonny's first game in Memphis, and then, like, doesn't Nitro play Sonny's first game? How does that happen?
So
is that bad? Is that good? Is that weird? Am I noticing something off?
Right. So the conference is seeded at Las Vegas, and the conference championship by classification, and then previous year's points within classification. All the major teams on the AA, but points from the previous season. After the Hall of Fame, it's seeded off of this season. So Nitro Circus played 7 of the 8 tournaments. They got a bunch of points. They're the 2 seed, and Sonny's is what, the 16, 7, probably
17.
So that's the way it works. And I think you guys, when you played Sonny's, Sports Reach played Sonny's at Memphis, it was the 8-9, which 8-9 plays. So you guys were 8-9 seed, I think, then. So it's purely off points from this year, and it's definitely a discussion to have. I don't think teams like it.
Wouldn't it, losing my logical lizard brain, like, wouldn't you just put the 4 major teams, like, in order, like,
right,
4, the 1, 2, 3, 4? Because I don't think the AA or anybody like that. Because, like, if I'm a sponsor for
Yeah.
anybody else, for like the bottom half of the AA, or like anybody really, like my second game's gonna be against Resmondo. My second game's gonna be against RoofX. My second game is I'm gonna go 1-2 the whole season. Like,
Yeah. If you truly want to protect the sponsors, you would change it to major teams by points, then AA by points. That way you don't run into those teams. An established team won't run into one of those major teams in the first round. But it was voted on a decade ago to do it by points, and that's what we do. And if you look at the points here, Nitro's 2, Cheap Suits is 4, I-57's 5. So, Steven, what do you think about that? Which way do you prefer it? You've had
I
some
love
good
it this
speeds
way.
lately.
I'm not gonna lie. I only love it this way because it's given us some pretty good games. But I understand the other side of it too. Like I think if I was a major or a AA team to where I had a couple less events just because logistically we have our schedule a certain way, to me, I think it could work both ways. But I will say there's a way that you could do it to where you could do it by computer standings. I almost like that idea better than by points, because really those standings, the way that you guys have that formula done, it really does show what a team's efforts have been so far this year, because based on who you match up with in a tournament might be different from a different one, and that's how you might finish a tournament. So to me, if you have some sort of formula like that to where I think it works pretty well, you could definitely do the seeding off that over total points.
Right.
But I'm not complaining about it right now. So
yes. So Steven has had some great, like Chicago was awesome. I think Memphis was set up for you guys to make a run. I think this weekend you got a pretty good slot in the bracket. Josh, you're on the other side of it where Nitro said we're just going to play them all and get those good seeds, but then you didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, we had some early on really good draws, and we didn't take advantage of it, like you said. And it is what it is. Like Sonny's will likely. I mean, I don't see them not ending up in the top 4 or 5 at the end of the year, right? I mean, that's conservatively speaking. Like, they could be better than that. But like, it's just, it's the way their schedule works out, and they have their schedule set, and that is what it is. And this weekend we get them game 1. I think what's even more interesting is going to be the Smoky. So Mooch and I talked quite a bit, and mathematically speaking, from a point situation, even if they were to win this weekend, they can only jump like one team. So they're still going to be around that area for the Smoky. So that'll be really interesting to see how that all plays out. Who plays who? First round, second round of the Smoky. You could have a pretty big matchup there on Friday, day 1. That typically doesn't happen. And honestly, I think the reason, Joel, so one of the reasons I think what we're seeing too with these types of matchups, not only the way that they seed, but we've got 26 teams in the conference. It's typically not this low, right? And so in past years, we've had 30, 35, 40 teams in the conference. And when you've got more teams coming to the conference, to the events, then you've got the disparity, you've got a little bit more of stretched out, and you're playing different teams before you get these heavyweight, quote unquote, heavyweight battles. This is what it is this year.
Yeah.
No, and like I look at it as like, listen, I play whoever. I like softball. I like playing. And the better, it shows me who I am, who I'm playing. However, we played you guys 5 times this year, bro. We're not even halfway. I played JBL 0 times. Like, bro, like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, yo, this is hella interesting, Like, and I know you have that 1 or 2 teams that you play 85 times throughout that year. Every year there's that one team that you do constantly, but like I don't think it should be us.
Usually that's it. Usually it's towards the end when the points are kind of set that you play the 8, 9. You're playing every weekend, that kind of thing. But
just like,
yeah.
Because neither one of us is gonna back down. And like, don't get me wrong, like, it's gonna be a good game, but like, damn, every tournament, like
yeah. Looking at the Chattahoochee this weekend, if Bernie can share my screen again. On the women's side, 4 major teams. a bunch of 8 teams. So once again, I think all these but one are conference. So like every game from 5, well, they start at 8 a.m. Saturday morning, the women. The men finish up Saturday night so we can all get home for Father's Day. Thank you, Stro. The weather this weekend, it looks warm. I actually think these temperatures went up since I posted that. Could be 100 degrees on Saturday for sure. And then the bracket. So real quick, what do you guys see on the bracket? Maybe Josh, I know you got to go to a meeting at work. What do you see here and your final thoughts?
Oh, yeah, no breaks. I mean, I don't care who you are, where you're playing. That first game, you either have a challenging first game or you're getting ready to play a really good one in the second game.
I'm going to condense that first game, Josh, Nitro and Sunny's. That's
great.
too good a
Appreciate
matchup.
that. Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Appreciate that. It's wonderful.
If you don't pick yourself,
listen,
who are you picking here?
300-foot fences. Right now, I've got to give it to RoofX. They've proved RoofX is a team that's proven recently that, and they honestly, if you watch any of their games, they get excited when they're on home runs. Like, and Mooch and I, again, we've had conversations. These dudes, I forget which game it is. Maybe it was the Rismondo game. I'm not 100% sure. They scored like 17 runs after they were out of home runs. Yeah. They're just like, their ability to keep it in right now is unmatched. I think RoofX and Resi square off in the championship, but it's 300-foot fences. Anything can happen. Like, anything can happen on these fences. 300-foot fences is the equalizer. So it should be like for us. So for us, this is why I don't mind playing Sunnies in the first game. They've got a ton of power, major team. I'm not saying we don't, but like, they've got to keep it in too, right? So, if we're gonna play them, play first game, first out, might as well be in this tournament.
Yeah. Sports Reach playing straight play, Joel, in the first game. I might have to condense that game and then run over to Field 6 and do the Nitro Sunnies. What are you seeing here at the bracket, Joel?
Just look. What game do you want to watch? Every single game is great. You got 30 Vegas, West Point, Resmondo, Bay Area. You got JBL Primetime, Nitro Sunnies, LSR Juno. Yo, every single game there is awesome. Yeah. And then and not for nothing, I was about to start complaining about my side of the bracket, but it looks a little easier than that side of the bracket. I'll tell you what. I played against straight play, played against Beachies. We haven't played Frickers, but like that, they're the A team, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, bro, right now I gotta worry about straight play. Let's be real. It'll be Beachies, and then it'll be RoofX.
one inning at a time.
I'm gonna get my money's worth. I'm gonna come out swinging like we always do, man. Like we just listen. Now once again, like, bro, this is where I always have a debate on if the AA should be there or not, because like, damn, there should be just an A squad, A and a major. But then I look at this and I'm like, yeah, there is some gray area. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Steven, your earning of points this year has put you in a phenomenal spot. And no offense to Van Wert, but you're starting against an A. If you win, you don't even play a major. You got a shot at a AA. Like, what do you think of the bracket? Who do you think will win besides yourself?
Yeah, I like where we're at. I have to agree with Josh. I think the way RoofX is set up on this side of the bracket, I don't see anybody double dipping them. I think as long as they can get past Resi in that winter bracket final, I got them winning the tournament. To me, I will say, like, when you look at a bracket like this, it kind of reminds you of the duel, to where there's not an easy game whatsoever. And there's going to be a couple really good teams that go 2 and Q just by looking at how the losers bracket is set up and everything else. I mean, with the lack of teams this year, it's just the price that you got to pay. So you're going to have to play every game hard, and that heat is going to make a world of a difference. So I think hydration leading up to the tournament and really just keeping your team prepared for those type of conditions, they're going to be some long games. So especially with us finishing Saturday night. So I'd be very curious how that loser bracket's going to play out once teams drop into that. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's a couple upsets because of it. But all in all, I got RoofX winning it.
Yeah, with home runs being, it's still, even in the heat, the home runs seem to be pretty easy there. We'll see how that goes. But the loser bracket's going to be long day Saturday. And those 8 a.m. loser bracket games, those are damn good games. Like, you know, I'll be there trying to cover it somehow and do the condensed game. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that.
I do have a recommendation. At some point, you got to get a condensed game of us not getting our ass kicked. That would be really, really nice. So I think everyone we've had, I mean, the RoofX games in Texas were pretty good, but the last couple, I did not want to see those links be posted. I was like, oh man, now I got to go back and watch this. But it's a learning experience. So I just want to throw that plug out there.
I think it's not just you, it's other teams that fall into that category. You know, I do the big games, right? I pick one of the semifinals, the winners final, the losers final. If you're in those games, you're playing probably a major team. And then, you know, some of those games, there's nothing you could do about it. But we'll wrap up the show. Guys, you got any? I appreciate you coming in. Mooch couldn't make it today. Unfortunately, we had some great questions for him. But final say, and if you got to go ahead. Who wants to jump in? Joel or Josh?
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it. So I'll say love the Saturday finish. And if we can incorporate that a little bit more, I think, especially with less teams, I think that'd be awesome. So outside of that, no, I mean, I think it's going to be a really exciting finish to the season based off of where teams are currently placed and the necessity of points and just positioning for, you know, standings and what have you for the major. So major teams specifically. It's gonna be real exciting. Thank God we don't have to play Sports Reach and anytime in the winners bracket there, and I'm sure we'll see them in the losers bracket at some point if we end up down there together. But no, excited to play this weekend. Spring Suncoast.
This may be the best round of 16 we've seen all year. Joel, what's your final thoughts?
Oh man, this right here, like, bro, did we not just watch straight play B-Res Mondo in Arizona? Was that not a spectacular? Twicey. He said 2 times. Like, yo, that was crazy. Like, and we kind of had him on the ropes in Dallas if we didn't decide to, like, just throw the ball into the stands a bunch of times. So it was like, yo, like, everywhere you go in here. And, like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, is it a little, what's the word, tedious maybe if we play each other again? But then again, there's no complaints on either side. It's not like, oh, you guys played a B team 75 times in a row. Like, nah, we played Nitro 8,000 times for all 8,000 of their uniforms. We played every single uniform that they have. Like, yo, it's wild, man. It's good. I like that. LSR, I thought they were double A this whole time. This whole time I thought they were double A. They play really well now.
Yeah, straight play, I was wrong. They only beat Rismondo once. So RoofX finished off Rismondo and Phoenix. RoofX undefeated on 300-foot fields. Steve, what do you got for the final word?
Thanks again, DW, for having us on. It's always great to talk with you all. And Josh, this is my first time really getting to interact with you, so great to meet you as well. I'm excited for the rest of the season. We're halfway through just about. Be interesting to see what moves teams are making to kind of solidify themselves as we move forward. So, but yeah, special thanks to the sponsors that help us out. And really, at the end of the day, I look forward to compete with you all. Hopefully we'll be on the winning side.
Great weekend coming up. I want to thank Bernie, Kelly McLemore in the background for helping put us on Facebook and producing the show. You guys for showing up. A real shout out to USSSA Live YouTube channel. Had a record week of views last week. So the channel's really starting to grow. We're almost at 30,000 followers, and it's getting a lot of play. So safe travels to all the teams. We'll see you Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right? It's Eastern time in Columbus, Georgia. 5 p.m. Eastern. Every game is a great game, men's and women's. So we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in.
Hydrate.